ladies and gentlemen, the Rotary Club, the Premier Club, as we can call it now, Sudhanshu Pasricha ji, Anisha Dalmia, Neha Barlia ji, and Atul ji again. Well, I was asked about this subject because I've written a book, and once you write a book, even if you know about a subject little, people consider you are an expert. But I have no such pretensions. Now, the subject for this afternoon is Ram Temple was the 70-year delay or wait avoidable. If I were to answer this question in one sentence, it was. It was. And when I say that, I also mean that the loss of human life, property that took place in 70 years because of the various agitations which were launched to reclaim the Ram Janpath, that loss was also avoidable. And when I make this statement, I won't claim that I am going to enlighten you, but I am definitely going to shock you with certain facts. That why this loss, why this delay was avoidable. Number one, contrary to the popular perception, to begin with, post 1947, mark the word post 1947, it was not a Hindu-Muslim issue at all. Post 1947, it was not a Hindu-Muslim issue at all. And number two, there was unanimity in Ayodhya, in Lucknow, and in the rest of the country that a temple, Ram temple, should be built on the Ram Janpath. Number three, it was not the structure which got destroyed and where the Ram temple has been built. It was not a mosque as per the settled Indian law or Sharia. And number four, the movement for Ram Janpath, with the popular perception is related to a political move. The movement to build the Ram Janpath temple was not a political movement at all. The opposition was political. And the last point is that December 6, 1992, demolition was a Gandhian solution to the problem. And the last point, why this entire episode took more than 7 decades after independence is only because of one man we all respect him. He was the first Prime Minister of this country, called Mr. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Now, having made all these points, I will make you visit each one of them. Now, to recap, it was 23rd December 1949. And morning, people realized that the Babri structure, certain ideals of Hindu gods had appeared, particularly Ram. Now there were two explanations. One was that the ideals had been placed by some people. And the second was, which many of the devotees claim, that it was a divine intervention, divine appearance. And you know who was the first witness of that divine appearance? It was a Muslim called Abdul Barakat. He was a head constable. He was posted at the Ram Janpath police station, police post as it was called, just opposite the Babri structure. He was on duty at that night. 23rd December 1949, these images appeared, and obviously he was examined by the police and he was examined by the court. When he was examined by the court, and court asked him, Abdul, you were on duty on 23rd December 1949. How did these ideas appear? Now, his statement in court, which is a part of the court records, Abdul Barkat says, and the statement is a mix of Hindi and Urdu. अब्दुल बरकत ने कहा, जनाब मैं वहाँ पे ड्यूटी पे था और अचानक रात के टाइम वहाँ पे अजीब और गरीब रोशनी हुई, बहुत तेज रोशनी हुई, मेरी आंखें तो आ गई, मैं उस रोशनी को टॉलरेट नहीं कर सका और थोड़ी देर में देखता हूँ कि एक बहुत डिवाइन बच्चा उसमें से 6-7 साल का अपीयर हुआ और उसके चेहरे पे इतना तेज था कि आई वेंट इनटू ए ट्रांस एंड व्हेन आई रिगेन्ड माय कॉन्शियसनेस, जब मेरे को होश आया तो मैंने देखा कि सारे ताले बिल्डिंग के टूटे पड़े हैं और सैकड़ों लोग अंदर राम भजन गा रहे हैं। दिस वॉज ए स्टेटमेंट मेड इन कोर्ट इन 1949 बाय अब्दुल बरकत, ए पुलिस हेड कांस्टेबल। I am trying to prove that it was not a Hindu-Muslim issue. 29 December, under Section 145, court proceedings were held about the disputed property. There was not even a single objection by any of the Muslim residents of Ayodhya. When the administration decided to appoint 2 pujaris and carry on all the protocols which are part of Hindu rituals in a temple. Not only this, as many as 12 Muslims of Ayodhya, they gave affidavit saying essentially that this place has always belonged to Hindus. They have a right over it. Since 1934 we have never been there. It doesn't mean anything to us now. Please give it to the Hindus so that they can develop it the way they want it. As many as 12 of them gave affidavits. There was a chap called Baba Abhiram Das. Abhiram Das was the prime accused for keeping the idols of Hindu gods in the structure. Naturally, there should have been animosity towards him, Abhiram Das. But what happened? A Muslim, prosperous Muslim of Barabanki district, which is next to Ayodhya, he keeps him his ancestral property so that he can build a Ram temple there, Hanumanji's temple there. Now, this is part of the civil society. I will come to next to the official part. K. Nair, an ICS officer, was the Deputy Commissioner of Faizabad under full jurisdiction Ayodhya. Gurudar Singh was the city magistrate. Baba Raghav Das was the local Congress MLA. And Baba Raghav Das was not an ordinary man. He was a Gandhian of great repute. When he was inducted into Congress in 1920 by Gandhiji, Gandhiji said, मेरे पास 4 लोग ऐसे और हो जाए तो आज़ादी जो कल मिलने वाली आज मिल जाएगी। The man was known for his Spartan lifestyle, Gandhian values, simple. And the movement for reclamation of Ram Janmabhoomi temple in Ayodhya in 1949, it was not led by RSS. There was no RSS virtually. There was no Jansangh, no BJP. It was led by Baba Raghav Das, a very, very respected Congress MLA of the city. And he was supported by the local Hindu Mahasabha unit. So you have the ICS officer, you have Gurudar Singh, the city magistrate, you have the local SP, you have the Congress MLA, you have the Hindu Mahasabha. Each one of them with unanimously said, भाई यहाँ पे देश आज़ाद हो गया, the country has become free, let us have a Ram temple here. Govind Vallabh Pant was the premier, as the UP chief minister was called then, and it was United Provinces. Lal Bahadur Shastri was his home minister, who later on became the prime minister of the country, and Bhagwan Sai, ICS, was the chief secretary. They all wanted कि यहाँ पे मंदिर बन जाए, क्योंकि ये 400 साल से 450 साल से यहाँ स्ट्रगल है. Only one man didn't want it, and because of him, the country had to wait for more than 70 years, pay a very heavy price in terms of lost lives and property, and that man's name was Jawaharlal Nehru. And 23rd December, when these murtis were found, 26th December, 3 days later, when the country was facing an invasion in Kashmir, when the country was millions of people migrating from Pakistan as refugees, the Prime Minister had the time to dictate a telegram to the UP Chief Minister on 26th of December 1949 कि मूर्तियों को उठा के बाहर फेंक दो, रिकॉर्ड पे उनका टेलीग्राम, और वहाँ पे मुसलमानों को बुलाओ और उनको कहो कि वो अपनी नमाज वहाँ पढ़े. They didn't want it. वो 1934 गए नहीं थे, उन्होंने एफिडेविट दिया, but still the Prime Minister wanted. Now you can well imagine कि भाई 1949, 1947 से पहले से हुआ था हिंदू मुस्लिम issue. Why did the change happen? There were two things. In 1934, it's a recorded incident. There was a massive clash between Hindus and Muslims in Ayodhya about the control of that structure. Hindus regained the control of the structure for 3 days. They damaged a part of the building, and after that, the British put a stop to any activity over there. Or 1947 में, the country was divided. Now it struck everybody that up to 1930, there was absolutely no talk about a separate Muslim nation. Up to 1930. For the first time, in 1930, a demand was made that there should be a separate country for Muslims. In 1933, first time, a word called Pakistan was used. पहली बार हिंदुस्तान, यूनाइटेड इंडिया के अंदर 1933 में पाकिस्तान का वर्ड यूज हुआ. रहमत अली खान एक स्टूडेंट थे लंदन में, उन्होंने इसको कॉइन किया. And in 14 years, Pakistan became a reality. 1/4 of the country was handed over to them. 1/4 of the country, which exists in shape of Bangladesh and Pakistan today. And Hindus have been asking for almost 450 years at that point of time for 2.77 acres of land. 2.77 acres of land for the last 450 years. And in 14 years, you get 1/4 of the country in the name of religion. And here, Pakistan became a reality because the Muslims wanted it. Pakistan became a reality because the British wanted it. Pakistan also became a reality because Congress agreed to it. So a Congress party or a Prime Minister who could agree to vivisection of the country and handing over 1/4 of it, geography भूल के, इतिहास भूल के, law भूल के, सब कुछ भूल के, but on 2.77 acres, you got stuck to it. This entire thing, this Ram temple agitation, unfortunately we have a time window of about half an hour, so I won't be able to recall the whole of it. But let me tell you that the first case that was registered in India on this Ram Janpath was in 1858, recorded case. Nihal Singh, there was a Nihal Singh called Fakir Singh, and he led a batch of few hundred Nihal Singhs, occupied the structure. It's registered, the case is registered still, conducted a havan there, और उन्होंने कोयले से सारी जगह राम नाम लिख दिया and hoisted a saffron flag over it. They were in control of the shrine for a few weeks, and ultimately they were evicted by the British. There was Mahant Raghuvar Das in 1885. He represented to the British government that there is a chabutra outside where traditionally they have been carrying, after being evicted from the structure, they have been carrying on puja. But and they should be allowed to build a temple. And I will quote from what the judge said at that time, a British judge. His name was Colonel Chemiyar, and I will just read out what he wrote. 1886, in his judgment, it is most unfortunate that a masjid should have been built on land specially held sacred by the Hindus, but as that event occurred 356 years ago, it is too late now to remedy the grievance. All that can be done is to maintain the party status quo. तो ये कोई नई चीज किसी ने इन्वेंट नहीं की थी. This has been a struggle going on for hundreds of years. And you know, when Modi ji carried on the Bhumi Pujan in 2020, a very, very touching incident happened, came to my notice. There were functions in various villages around Ayodhya. और वो फंक्शन क्या थे? पगड़ी बांधनी थी. फंक्शन हो रहे हैं, पंडित जी आ रहे हैं, मंत्र बोल रहे हैं, पगड़ियां बंधवा रही हैं. क्यों? There are 105 villages dominated by Suryavanshi Rajputs around Ayodhya. When this Ram temple was demolished, and they couldn't protect it, they lost. So they took a vow. Till the Ram temple is not rebuilt, we will not wear pagdis and shoes. हम जूते नहीं पहनेंगे, पगड़ी नहीं पहनेंगे. And when this Bhumi Pujan was done by Modi ji, they got convinced that now the temple will be built. There were celebrations across the villages. It was reported by local papers and TV channels. And imagine this sort of sentiment. So it was not some sort of a political issue. It was basically involved with the emotions of people. In Ayodhya, Lucknow, Delhi wanted a Ram temple, and the opposition was mainly by Nehru. And in fact, if you go through the letters which Nehru ji wrote, I don't want to bore you with reading those letters here. He wrote to Vidhan Chandra Roy, the then Chief Minister of West Bengal. He wrote to other people that I am isolated in Congress. मेरे साथ कोई नहीं है इस इशू के ऊपर. And how come the entire Congress has been infected by a communal violence? Nehru's attitude was not only confined to this place, Ayodhya. I'd like you to revisit Somnath. It's very, very important. 12th November 1947. It was the first Deepavali of independent India. Sardar Patel had managed to integrate Junagadh into Indian Union. And 12th November 1947, on Deepavali day, Sardar Patel was in Junagadh. And there stood the famous Somnath temple turned into a mosque. Eyesore to it. It had been demolished about 17 times and again rebuilt, not as a temple, but as a mosque. Sardar Patel announced, we will rebuild Somnath. He came to Delhi, met Gandhiji, took his approval, took it in the cabinet. Cabinet meeting was obviously presided by the Prime Minister, Pandit Nehru. The cabinet meeting presided by Nehru not only agreed to rebuild the Somnath temple, but also to finance its rebuilding. In the evening, these people went to Gandhiji to inform him of the decision. Gandhiji made one amendment. He was very, very happy with the decision. He said it should not be rebuilt with the government money, it should be rebuilt with the public donations. Under the chairmanship of Kanhaiyalal Maniklal Munshi, who was a minister in Nehru's cabinet, a trust was formed. In January 30, 1948, Gandhiji was unfortunately assassinated. December 15, 1950, Sardar Patel died. Nehru was the sole leader of the Congress party. After one cabinet meeting, and this is what Kanhaiyalal Maniklal Munshi records in his book, Nehru called him, said, I don't like your temple business. This is Hindu revivalism. Stop it. He did not answer the Prime Minister then. He wrote him a very scathing letter. I have reproduced some parts of that letter in my book. He said, well, I am a competent man and minister. It doesn't mean that I have forgotten my ancestral traditions and religion. This letter one must read. And then when in 1951 the temple was complete, Kanhaiyalal Maniklal Munshi requested President of India, Dr. Janpath, to come and inaugurate it. Pandit Nehru wrote to Dr. Prasad saying that you should not go and inaugurate it. Now two questions arise. Number one, the decision to build the temple was taken by a cabinet presided by Nehru. Until Gandhiji and Patel were alive, the man didn't have the moral courage to oppose it. But after they were gone, he was going back, taking a U-turn, 180-degree turn on the very decision of his own cabinet. And you will find that his attitude towards the temples was not confined only to Somnath or to Ayodhya. When I was researching for this book, I came across a speech by Pandit Nehru in 1959, made in Delhi. It is in record at 3 places, All India Radio records, then collected works of Nehru and yet another book, in which he shares his perception about the Hindu temple. He was addressing a meeting of architects, and I quote him, there's about 4 lines. Some of the temples of the south, however, repel me in spite of their beauty. Next sentence. I just can't stand them. Why? I do not know. I cannot explain that, but they are oppressive. They suppress my spirit. They do not allow me to rise. They keep me down. I am shocked. Can you say such a thing about a church or a mosque? You may feel anything, but you are a Prime Minister of the country. Irrespective of whatever we feel, at times we don't say it because of the deference to the feelings of others. And you know, you find that Nehru's legacy is still being carried out. Dr. Manmohan Singh government in 2007 gave an affidavit in Supreme Court, later on they withdrew under public pressure, saying that Valmiki and Tulsidas Ramayana characters, they are fictitious. We don't believe they exist. Can you say such a thing about any other religion? And later on, because there was so much public pressure, they had to withdraw it. And I was asked recently by TV people, why Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi, they are not going to the 22nd January program in Ayodhya. I said it is a very simple issue. They have to choose between Ram and Rahul. So how can I said Vineyard is the only seat from where this man can get elected, because 55% of his electorate is non-Hindu, predominantly Muslims. So if they are gone, if they are seen anywhere near Ayodhya, he will not get elected. So the choice was between Ram and Rahul, and obviously the family choose Ram. तेरे शहर के कारीगर बड़े अजीब है ये दिल, तेरे शहर के कारीगर बड़े अजीब है ये दिल, कांच की मरम्मत करते हैं पत्थरों के औजारों से. Now that was the first phase of 1949. For till 1984 there was no electricity. I've been to that place in 1981. There were stone structures, रामलला की मूर्ति अंदर थी, सीखे थे, अंदर पूजा होती थी, पुजारी लोग करते थे, nobody but the पुजारी were allowed inside. बाहर 24/7 groups of people, 30, 40, 50, 100 festivals with thousands में, they will play from outside. And 1984 में गुलजारीलाल नंदा जी का नाम शायद आपको याद हो. The man had the distinction of being Prime Minister of the country twice, 10 days each. Stepney Prime Minister. But he was an important leader of Congress party. And then there was Daudiyal Khanna. He too was a minister in Congress government in Uttar Pradesh. And two people from RSS, Moropat Pingle and Ashok Singhal, they met in Muzaffarnagar and decided that Ram Janmabhoomi needs to be freed. Two were congressmen, two were RSS men. The way it was in 1949. But by that time the Congress under Nehru and his successors had passed on to within the hands of leftists. And there was immediate, what you can say, resistance to that. And as a result, the movement got passed on to the RSS VHP. I made one point that Babri was, the structure was not a masjid. It is a settled law. In 1935, there was a Shahidganj Gurdwara in Lahore, which was, there was a martyr called Taru Singh, about 150 years back, and he was martyred there, and it was a mosque. When the Sikh rule came, it was converted into a Gurdwara. And in 1930-35, the Muslim side approached the court, saying it used to be a mosque once, and now it is a Gurdwara, it should be given to us. And that judgment, it's called Shahidganj judgment. You can therefore Google it and find out. I won't go into details. But the court made 2 points. Number one, the masjid doesn't have that sanctity as per its own, what you can say, tradition. Masjid is nothing but a prayer hall, and prayer hall can be built anywhere. And once somebody else has taken over, then you cannot claim it was a mosque. It becomes a property dispute. This is called, and this judgment was challenged in Privy Council, upheld in Privy Council. Then in the recent Supreme Court judgment also, our own Supreme Court has quoted that judgment. And number two, if you Google, I'm skipping the details because of the shortage of time, you will find in many Muslim countries, and particularly Saudi Arabia, mosques which have been historical, antique value, they have been demolished for developmental purposes. For in Muslim society, mosque is just like any other building. You can get the whole list of historical mosques that have been demolished in several Muslim countries, including Saudi Arabia. So it was not a mosque, and the Prime Minister of the country, Narasimha Rao, after demolition on 6 December 1992, made an absolutely absurd wrong statement when he said a mosque has been demolished. If he had spoken the truth, 1934 के बाद तो वहाँ नमाज नहीं हुई, कभी गया नहीं, फिर वहाँ के लोगों ने खुद लिख के कह दिया मुसलमानों ने कि भाई हमको ये चाहिए नहीं. एंड वहाँ 1949 से 92 तक पूजा अर्चना 24/7 होती जा रही है. हाउ कैन यू कॉल दैट स्ट्रक्चर ए मॉस्क? सो एंड मैं गांधी जी का जिक्र कर रहा था. While researching for this book, I came across a very interesting observation by Gandhi ji, which he made in Young India of 5th February 1925. You can go and refer it in the collected works of Gandhi. It is a 100-volume thing. You can. Somebody asked him that if a mosque is built on your land, what do you do? How you deal with the situation? And Gandhi said, I'm not going to quote him, I've got the entire quote. He said, अगर आप में ताकत है, just pull it down. If you have energy, power in your hands, just pull it down. नहीं है, then you go to the police and law. And this is exactly what the Kar Sevaks did in 6 December 90. Now I am going to just make 5 points very briefly. Ayodhya was part of it was history and part of it was faith. History तो ये है कि राम जी and Ayodhya are what you can say synonymous. You go, we call it itihas basically. Puran, Ramayana and Mahabharata, they are called itihas in our tradition. And number two, it's a historical fact, there was a huge temple, grand temple at that very site. And number three, it is also a historical fact that it was demolished by Islamic invaders. Now there are 2 points of faith. That is, one is that Ramji is the avatar of Vishnu, is a matter of faith. And second, that Ramji was born at that very spot. It's partly a matter of faith and partly you get the exact dimension from Skand Puran, which the Supreme Court has also quoted in its judgment. And I'm not going to read that part of the judgment. Interestingly, I want to make one point here. All religions of the world, they are based on faith. They say exceptional. So it's very silly to ask कि राम जी का बर्थ सर्टिफिकेट लाओ. सब क्वेश्चन का पास. ये लैंड जो है ये यहीं पे जन्म हुआ था तो दशरथ का पैलेस था, इसका कागज लाओ. Bring the relative record and prove that this land belonged to Raja Dasharath. So these are all very silly questions, and I don't want to quote how other religions are totally faith based. I am skipping that portion in deference to this time schedule. Last one line. See, Ayodhya, Kashi and Mathura, they are matters of faith for humans. And there is a quote by Mark Twain about Kashi, which I want to read out to you. It's just 2 lines. Banaras is older than history. Banaras is older than history, older than tradition, older even than the legend, and looks twice as old as all of them put together. So what applies to Varanasi applies to Ayodhya also and applies to Mathura also. And last 4 lines, जो ना पूरा हो उसे अरमान कहते हैं, जो ना बदले उसे ईमान कहते हैं, जो झुके नहीं गिरकर भी उठे उसे मेरा हिंदुस्तान कहते हैं. जय श्री राम.